And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Basilica has the fascinating theme of building a cathedral. I'm sorry. Whether I like the game or not, I think it's just there's so many games about building castles and building cathedrals. But hey, I'm glad that we are interested in building them. But this is a two-player game, and it's a tile-laying game. So let's take a look at this game and see how it plays, and we'll be right back. This game, players are building a cathedral, and they are going to be building next to this starting piece here. They're going to be putting down tiles next to this to build the cathedral. They can't go outside it, so it's going to be 5 times however wide. And what players are going to do is on their turn, players will have 3 actions that they can take, and they will be able to, there's 3 different things that they can do. One of the things they can do is simply take one of these 3 tiles here in the vault and place it next to another tile or next to the starting board. So I could have placed it there or here, I could have placed it over here, but I'll place it here. And when that happens, this tile up here flips down into that spot and we bring a new tile into that place. Now you notice that some of these tiles have 2 different colors on them. Those are wild tiles. They can't be put next to another wild tile. Another thing you might notice is that some of the tiles have crowns on them. So when I place a crown tile on the board, I will move the king's pawn 1 space forward. And that's important because once he gets a 10, scoring is going to occur. So one of the things that you can do is place a tile and then take the action or put that tile out. Now when you put a tile out, you are immediately allowed to put one of your builders, one of your workers on that tile. That's the only time you can put a worker out is right after you put out a tile. You can't just put a worker out anywhere you want. So those are 2 of the actions you can take. Place a tile or put out a worker. And then the other action you take is you can take one of these tiles here in the back row and you can take the action on that tile. For example, this allows me to remove one of my workers from the board. This one allows me to put a chip under one of my workers. This one here allows me to remove a tile from the board as long as there's no workers on it. This one here allows me to put a stained glass marker on the board. This one here lets me put out 2 scaffolding tokens. So I just take the tile, I discard it, and I do the action. Now some actions like this one here, it shows a coin on it. That means when you take that action, your opponent can pay you a coin. You each start with 1 coin to take this action. He can also put a token underneath one of his guys. Now, once you pay the other person your coin, you can't go until they paid you a coin back. So that kind of controls how that works. Each person has one of these coins. But let's take a look at some of the other things that we talked about. When you get to put one of these tokens underneath one of your guys, some of the actions allow you to do that. You can pick any current token that you might have. This one here lets you break ties. This one here makes your token count as 2 of that token type. This one here doubles the value of the region that you're in, whether you win or lose. So you have those. You also have stained glass markers. These will add 2 points to any region that they're placed into. So if it's in that region is worth 2 extra points. And then scaffolding tiles, you'll be able to put these out, and those simply are just nothing tiles. They kind of block regions. Now, what is a region, you might ask? Well, let's put out some more tiles here, and we'll show you a couple regions on the board. All right. Here's a few tiles, and this shows you basically 3 regions on the board. I have a region of 3 greens. I have a region of 3 reds. I have a region of 2 yellows. Oh yeah, here's a blue, 2 single blue regions. When scoring happens, whoever has the most workers in a region is going to get the points for that region. So here Tam would get 3 points, 1, 2, 3. Of course, he could have a stained glass window there that make that worth 5, and he could be doubling the value of that, which could also, could lead to extra points. So when that happens, players will move their token here along the scoring place. The scoring can happen 3 times over the course of the game when the king gets a 10, 20, or 30. Now, it is possible that when you are putting out these tiles that you'll run out of these stacks of tiles, and when that happens, you'll reshuffle and draw again, and if you go through the stack of tiles twice, the game will end even if you're not to 30 yet, and then the final scoring will happen at that point in time, whether you've gotten to 30 or not. Whoever has the most points at that point in time is the winner. There is a little 30 and 60 chip, because you probably will go over that amount of points as you play. But there's back and forth. Now, one more thing I should mention, after scoring occurs, the back 2 rows are pretty much destroyed, and all the other tiles are moved forward, and all workers are removed from the board. So it's kind of like a reset. Some of the tiles will stay on the board, but not all of them will. And so new things will happen after the first scoring round, the second scoring round, then the third scoring round, the game is over. Now, the tiles in this game are just a smidge bigger than Carcassonne tiles, okay, for point of reference. The laying them down is very simple because you're just laying down color next to color. However, I think pretty much anybody who's ever played Carcassonne and who plays this will draw some sort of comparison in their mind. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or this game stole from Carcassonne. It didn't. But it has a similar feel to Carcassonne, and even up to the point where you're putting down the people. I do wish they had used something other than cubes for people, like even meeples or something to put them out on the board. That visually, and this box is probably too big for what comes in. Basically, essentially, this has the feel of what I call the 2-player Cosmos game series, Lost Cities and Balloon Cup and all that, because it's light and simple like that. The game isn't hard. At first, there's a little confusion when you play because you'll be looking at the different symbols and what they mean, and oh, okay, what does that symbol mean? You look it up. But once you know what those symbols mean, it is fast. It's really not a hard game. You're placing tiles, taking special abilities, and going back and forth, and it works, I thought, really well as a 2-player game. It's focused. There's certainly a lot of interaction because I'm constantly taking things from you, choosing which of those chips to put down. Do I want the tiebreaker because I only have so many workers to put out, or do I want to make this one count as 2? Do I want to, make this area worth more, but I better certainly control it? Am I going to move somebody into this area and try to take it from the other player? Or will I move out of an area he obviously controls and try to make mine better? Will I place down 3 tiles my turn? Or will I put out a worker and try to use these special abilities? There's really a lot going back and forth in this game. Even from controlling the king as he comes down the track to know when the scoring is going to happen. And it's light. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to be sitting there with super heavy choices, but I thought there was a good deal of choices on your turn. I never played what I would consider an automated turn. Each turn I would sit there and go, okay, I have 3 different actions that I can choose. I have 3 different tiles I can put, and each of those things that I do is going to give me access to another tile that I can place out. And when am I going to put out my people? And so it wasn't an overwhelming number of choices, but it was good. This is actually a fun game. I was impressed by it when I first went through the rules. I said, I don't know. And then we played it, and it was very enjoyable. The gameplay is very quick. I would say 45 minutes is probably, well, maybe that's not very quick, but 45 minutes is a good number on the game. I don't know what the box says on it. They usually lie. Oh, 45 minutes. What do you know? If this one's telling the truth. But the theme comes through kind of, but essentially you're just putting down different colored tiles next to each other and trying to score groupings. But I don't dislike the theme. I like, building, even though it is used way too much, is something I like, and it has opportunity to be very thematic. So Basilica, a very neat, very back and forth interactive game, one that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
Shut the door!
That's right. Shut it.
There.